Ladies and gentlemen, boundaries are the invisible lines that define how we allow others to treat us and what we are willing to accept in our relationships. They're not acts of rejection, but declarations of self-respect. Often people hesitate to set boundaries because they fear being perceived as harsh or unkind. But the truth is, boundaries are one of the most compassionate acts you can perform, both for yourself and for others. They clarify expectations, reduce misunderstandings, and foster healthier connections. When someone silently plays with your feelings through manipulation, neglect, or inconsistency, it's a sign that your boundaries are being crossed and it's time to act. Establishing boundaries starts with recognizing your worth. When you know what you deserve, you stop tolerating behaviors that diminish you. Many of us learn to ignore the small discomforts, brushing off subtle slights or manipulative tactics, thinking we're being kind, forgiving, or patient. But over time, these small infractions pile up and take a toll on our self-esteem. Boundaries are your way of saying, I deserve better than this. They remind you, and those around you, that your feelings and well-being matter. It's also essential to understand that boundaries aren't about controlling others, they're about taking control of your own life. You can't stop someone from being manipulative or dismissive, but you can decide how much access they have to you. When someone repeatedly disrespects your feelings, whether by invalidating them, ignoring them, or using them as leverage, you have every right to distance yourself. This doesn't mean you're shutting them out without explanation. Often a firm but kind conversation is enough to clarify your boundaries. However, if they refuse to respect them, cutting ties might be necessary for your peace of mind. Another powerful aspect of boundaries is that they create space for growth, yours and theirs. When you enforce boundaries, you challenge others to reflect on their behavior and how it impacts those around them. You're teaching them that relationships thrive on mutual respect and care, not one-sided dynamics. At the same time, you're creating an environment where you can flourish. Freeing yourself from toxic patterns allows you to invest your energy in people who value you and relationships that uplift you. People often mistake boundary setting as an act of selfishness, but nothing could be further from the truth. True selfishness is expecting others to tolerate your disregard for their emotions or needs. By establishing boundaries, you're saying, I value myself enough to protect my peace, and I value you enough to expect better. Remember that boundaries are a form of love, self-love, and relational love. They ensure that your relationships are built on mutual respect, not silent resentment. When you prioritize your emotional health, you create a foundation for authentic and fulfilling connections. For those who manipulate or play with your feelings, boundaries are a clear message. The games stop here. You deserve relationships rooted in trust and care, not in power plays and confusion. So, set your boundaries unapologetically. They are the first step toward reclaiming your peace and power. Today, I want to talk about something that too many of us face, yet too few of us confront: the silent manipulators in our lives, the people who play with our feelings, often without us even realizing it until we're drained, confused, or doubting ourselves. Silent manipulation is one of the most insidious forms of emotional harm because it often goes unnoticed until significant damage has been done. Unlike overt aggression or conflict, silent manipulation operates in the shadows, subtly influencing your thoughts, feelings, and actions without your full awareness. It often starts small: a dismissive glance, a seemingly innocent joke at your expense, or a pattern of unmet promises. These behaviors can seem minor or easy to overlook, but they have a cumulative effect that chips away at your confidence, clarity, and sense of self-worth. One of the most dangerous aspects of silent manipulation is its stealth. Manipulators often mask their intentions under the guise of care, humor, or misunderstanding, making it difficult to call out their behavior. You might find yourself doubting your feelings, wondering if you're being too sensitive or imagining things. This self-doubt is precisely what manipulators rely on to maintain their control. By keeping you uncertain, they ensure that you second-guess your instincts and tolerate actions you wouldn't normally accept. Silent manipulation creates an environment of emotional instability. You might notice patterns where your boundaries are subtly ignored, your feelings are minimized, or your priorities are consistently overshadowed by theirs. This leads to a toxic cycle of confusion and frustration, where you feel compelled to justify their behavior or question your reactions. The danger here is that this undermines your ability to trust yourself. When someone plays with your feelings silently, they're not just disrespecting your emotions, they're eroding your confidence in your ability to identify and respond to unhealthy dynamics. Another harmful effect of silent manipulation is the way it isolates you. Manipulators often use tactics like guilt, subtle blame, or withholding affection to make you feel responsible for their actions. You might feel obligated to fix things or work harder to please them, even though their behavior is the real issue. This can pull you away from supportive relationships as you expend all your energy trying to navigate the manipulator's unspoken rules and expectations. It's a slow, isolating process that leaves you emotionally depleted and disconnected from the people who truly care about you. The emotional toll of silent manipulation is profound. It can leave you feeling anxious, unworthy, or perpetually on edge. The constant undercurrent of doubt and emotional strain can impact your mental health, affecting everything from your mood to your decision making. What's worse, because the manipulation is often subtle, it can be difficult to pinpoint the source of your discomfort, leaving you stuck in a cycle of unease without clear resolution. Recognizing silent manipulation is the first step to breaking free from its grip. Pay attention to patterns of behavior that leave you feeling confused, diminished, or guilty. Trust your instincts if something feels off. It likely is. Silent manipulation thrives in ambiguity, but once you name it and address it, you take back your power. Refusing to tolerate such behavior is not only an act of self-respect, but also a declaration of your right to emotional clarity and peace. Your worth is a fundamental truth that cannot be negotiated, diminished, or questioned by anyone. It is not determined by the opinions of others, the roles you play in relationships, or the mistakes you've made. It is intrinsic, unchanging, and independent of external validation. Yet, when you encounter people who play with your feelings, it can be easy to forget this truth. Manipulators often exploit insecurities and create an environment where you start to believe that your value is tied to how much you can accommodate, fix, or tolerate their behavior. This is a lie, and it's time to reject it completely. When someone toys with your emotions, whether through inconsistency, neglect, or subtle manipulation, they are indirectly challenging your sense of worth. They create a dynamic where you feel like you must prove yourself to earn their approval, attention, or affection. This can manifest in overextending yourself, compromising your boundaries, or prioritizing their needs at the expense of your own. The danger here is that it sets a precedent both for them and for you that your value is conditional, but your worth was never and will never be up for negotiation. Knowing your worth means standing firm in your self-respect, even in the face of those who try to undermine it. It requires recognizing that you are deserving of love, kindness, and respect simply because you exist, not because of what you do for others or how much you tolerate. This understanding empowers you to stop engaging in relationships where your value is constantly questioned or minimized. When someone refuses to treat you with the respect and care you deserve, it's not a reflection of your worth, but of their inability to value others. Their actions should not make you doubt yourself. Instead, they should strengthen your resolve to walk away. Often people stay in situations that diminish their self-worth because they believe change is possible if they just try harder. They think, maybe if I explain myself better, they'll understand, or if I give them more time, they'll change. While growth and understanding are possible in healthy relationships, they are not obligations. If someone consistently plays with your feelings and disregards your boundaries, it's not your job to convince them of your value. People who truly respect and care for you will see your worth without needing constant reminders or justification. Embracing your worth also means letting go of guilt. Many of us are conditioned to feel selfish for prioritizing ourselves. But valuing your self-worth is not selfish, it's essential. It's the foundation of every healthy relationship and the key to a fulfilling life. By affirming your worth, you create a standard for how others should treat you, and you attract connections rooted in mutual respect and authenticity. Your worth is non-negotiable. It's not up for debate, compromise, or redefinition by anyone. When you live in alignment with this truth, you reclaim your power, establish healthier relationships, and protect your emotional well-being. No one has the right to make you feel less than the incredible person you are. Remember, you are enough exactly as you are, and your worth is infinite. The courage to walk away from a relationship, a situation, or a dynamic that no longer serves you is one of the most powerful and transformative acts of self-love you can perform. It's not an easy decision to make, especially when emotions are involved or when you've invested time, energy, or heart into someone or something. There's often a sense of loyalty, hope, or attachment that makes the idea of walking away seem almost impossible. But the truth is, walking away is not about giving up, it's about honoring your own needs and well-being. It is a decision to prioritize your mental, emotional, and physical health over the comfort of staying in a toxic or unfulfilling situation. Many people stay in unhealthy relationships or situations because they are afraid of the unknown. They fear what life will be like without the familiar presence of someone they once cared about, even if that relationship is painful or emotionally draining. The fear of loneliness, rejection, or failure can keep us tethered to situations that chip away at our self-worth. But walking away takes an incredible amount of courage because it means breaking free from what is familiar, even if it's hurting you. It's choosing discomfort in the short term for peace, growth, and freedom in the long term. The courage to walk away comes from recognizing that your time, energy, and emotional health are precious. It means understanding that you deserve to be in relationships and environments that nurture your growth, that honor your boundaries, and that bring you peace, not stress. When you stay in relationships or situations where your feelings are disregarded, where you are manipulated, or where your worth is diminished, you're telling yourself that you don't deserve better. Walking away is a way of telling yourself that you are worthy of being treated with respect, kindness, and care. The emotional weight of walking away is not insignificant, and it often requires a process of grieving what could have been. There may be a period of sadness, anger, or confusion as you mourn the loss of the potential you once saw in someone or something. But in that grieving process, something incredible happens. You begin to reclaim your power. You begin to see yourself not as someone who is defined by others' treatment of them, but as someone who is strong enough to let go of what no longer serves them. In the space created by walking away, you make room for new opportunities, healthier relationships, and the kind of life that aligns with your true self. The courage to walk away is also about recognizing that you cannot change others, and you cannot force someone to value you or treat you the way you deserve. If a relationship or situation is built on manipulation, disregard, or emotional harm, no amount of explaining, compromising, or adjusting can make it right. Walking away is not a sign of weakness, but of strength. It's an acknowledgement that you cannot control others, but you can control your choices. Walking away is about reclaiming your life. It's about standing firm in your worth, knowing that you don't have to settle for less than you deserve. While it may be difficult at first, the peace that comes with walking away from toxic situations will always outweigh the short-term discomfort of doing so. You are worthy of a life filled with respect, love, and joy, and it takes courage to walk away from anything that stands in the way of that. Living authentically is one of the most liberating experiences you can have. It means shedding the layers of societal expectations, fears, and insecurities to embrace who you truly are in all of your complexity and individuality. The freedom that comes with authenticity isn't just a feeling, it's a profound shift in how you interact with the world and how you see yourself. When you embrace your true self, without fear or shame, you begin to experience life in a way that is grounded, empowered, and fulfilling. Authenticity is not just about being honest with others, but also about being honest with yourself. It's about aligning your inner thoughts and feelings with your outward actions. Often we get caught in the trap of living for the approval of others, altering our behaviors, desires, or beliefs to fit into a mold that we think will gain us acceptance or affection. This creates an inner conflict, a disconnection between who we are and how we present ourselves to the world. The result is an overwhelming sense of being unfulfilled or misunderstood because we are not living in alignment with our true selves. The freedom of authenticity begins when you stop seeking validation from external sources and start validating yourself. It's about accepting your flaws and imperfections as part of what makes you uniquely you. In a world that constantly tells us to be more, do more, or be someone else, being authentically means rejecting those pressures and choosing to show up as your true self. It means saying, I am enough as I am. This is not always easy, especially in a society that often rewards conformity over individuality, but it is necessary for inner peace. When you begin to live authentically, you stop wasting energy trying to please people who don't truly see or appreciate you for who you are. Instead, you make space for the people and relationships that support and uplift the real you. Authenticity attracts those who resonate with your true self, and these connections are far more meaningful and enriching than those built on pretense or expectation. You stop fearing judgment or rejection because you know that the people who truly matter will accept you as you are without needing to fit into a specific role. Living authentically also gives you the freedom to make decisions that align with your values, not someone else's. When you're not constantly seeking to appease others, you are free to make choices based on what is best for you and what feels right in your heart. This includes walking away from relationships or situations that don't honor your authenticity. When you stop pretending to be something you're not, you create the emotional space to live a life that is true to you, not to anyone else's expectations. Authenticity brings with it a sense of inner peace. The constant struggle to maintain a false image or meet external standards can create anxiety, stress, and feelings of inadequacy. But when you live authentically, you stop the exhausting cycle of pretending. You no longer feel the need to hide parts of yourself or apologize for who you are. In that space, you find peace in knowing that you are worthy of love, respect, and acceptance exactly as you are. The freedom of authenticity is also a gateway to growth. When you are true to yourself, you open yourself up to learning and evolving in ways that feel organic and fulfilling. Authenticity isn't about perfection. It's about embracing who you are, flaws and all, and allowing yourself the grace to grow and change without fear of judgment or rejection. Living authentically is the most freeing act you can offer to yourself and the world around you. It's a life lived with intention, clarity, and self-respect, and it's where true freedom lies. Listening to your inner voice is one of the most powerful practices you can cultivate in your life. It is the quiet, often overlooked guidance that comes from within your intuition, instincts, and deepest truths. In a world full of external noise, expectations, and influences, it can be easy to ignore this inner voice or drown it out in favor of what others think or what society dictates. But when you learn to tune into your inner wisdom, you not only gain clarity, but also empower yourself to make decisions that align with your authentic self and lead you toward fulfillment. The inner voice is always there, a constant companion that whispers truths when you stop to listen. It may come as a feeling in your gut, a subtle thought, or a quiet knowing that something is right or wrong. This voice isn't loud or forceful. It doesn't demand your attention. It's patient, soft, and often drowned out by the louder voices of self-doubt, fear, or the opinions of others. But when you begin to listen to it with intention, you realize it's been guiding you all along. It speaks to you in moments of stillness when you are able to quiet the distractions of the outside world and turn inward. The difficulty often lies in learning to trust this voice. We are taught to seek external validation and to prioritize logical reasoning over our feelings and intuition. This conditioning can create doubt when we first hear our inner voice, especially if it leads us down a path that seems unconventional or unclear. But ignoring it or second guessing it can leave us stuck in situations or relationships that no longer serve us because we are disconnected from our own truth. Listening to your inner voice requires trust in yourself and the courage to follow its guidance, even when it goes against the grain or challenges the comfort of staying in familiar, yet unfulfilling circumstances. One of the most profound aspects of listening to your inner voice is that it leads you to self-awareness. It helps you understand your needs, desires, and boundaries with clarity. Instead of constantly searching for answers from others, you begin to trust your own judgment and wisdom. This strengthens your sense of self and deepens your connection with your true values and purpose. When you start acting in alignment with this inner guidance, you naturally begin to attract people, situations, and opportunities that resonate with who you truly are. Listening to your inner voice also means allowing yourself to be honest with yourself. It's about acknowledging your feelings even when they are difficult, uncomfortable, or messy. It's easy to dismiss or suppress emotions in order to please others or avoid conflict, but when you ignore your inner voice, you risk losing touch with what you truly need. Your inner voice won't steer you wrong, but it requires you to be honest and vulnerable with yourself in order to fully understand its message. It may not always give you the answers you want, but it will always give you the answers you need. Trusting and listening to your inner voice also means setting boundaries. Your inner voice will guide you to understand when something isn't right or when you need to say no. It's that feeling you get when you're in a situation or relationship that doesn't feel aligned with your values or that leaves you drained. Ignoring that voice can lead to emotional exhaustion and frustration. But when you listen and honor it, you create space for healthier, more balanced connections and situations that truly nourish you. Listening to your inner voice is an act of self-respect. It's a declaration that you are worthy of your own attention, wisdom, and care. When you tune into this voice and trust its guidance, you stop looking for validation outside of yourself and begin to navigate life with a deeper sense of confidence, clarity, and authenticity. It's the voice that always has your best interest at heart, guiding you toward the life you were always meant to live. Healing and growth after cutting off a relationship or a situation that was emotionally harmful is a deeply personal and transformative journey. It often starts with a sense of relief and initial feeling of liberation from the toxic or manipulative dynamics that once drained you. However, as time goes on, the process becomes more complex. Healing after such a decision isn't just about walking away from a harmful person or situation. It's about rediscovering yourself, reconnecting with your true values, and learning how to move forward with strength and resilience. There may be a lingering sense of loss or confusion. Even when the relationship or situation was unhealthy, the act of severing ties can trigger feelings of grief. You might mourn the potential you once saw in the connection, the memories you shared, or the hope that things could have been different. This grief is valid as it acknowledges the emotional investment and attachment that was involved. It's important to allow yourself to feel this sadness without judgment, as part of healing is processing these emotions fully rather than rushing through them. By acknowledging your grief, you make space for deeper healing and understanding. The space that was once occupied by the toxic relationship allows for self-reflection and growth. When you cut off something that no longer serves you, you create an opportunity to rediscover who you are without the influence or manipulation of another person. This is when healing begins to shift from a passive process into an active one. You may find that you begin to set clearer boundaries, reclaim your passions and interests, or focus more on your emotional and physical well-being. This period is about rebuilding trust in yourself, trust that you are capable of making choices that prioritize your happiness and peace. You start to see yourself as worthy of relationships that are built on respect, kindness, and mutual understanding. One of the most powerful aspects of healing after a cutoff is reconnecting with your own voice and intuition. In toxic relationships, it's common to lose sight of your needs, desires, and even your identity as you adapt to someone else's demands or expectations. Once you remove yourself from that environment, you may begin to hear your own inner voice more clearly. You may rediscover things you had forgotten about yourself, hobbies, dreams, or values that were overshadowed by the unhealthy relationship. Trusting this voice and learning to listen to it without self-doubt is an essential part of healing. It helps you become more attuned to your own needs, which allows you to navigate future relationships and decisions with more confidence. During this journey, it's crucial to practice self-compassion. Healing after a cutoff can sometimes bring up feelings of guilt, self-blame, or shame, especially if the relationship or situation involved conflict, misunderstandings, or emotional pain. It's natural to question whether you made the right decision, but it's important to remind yourself that choosing to prioritize your well-being is an act of strength, not selfishness. Be gentle with yourself as you process the emotions that arise and recognize that healing is not linear. There will be ups and downs, but each step, no matter how small, is a step toward growth. You also begin to shed old patterns and behaviors that were once tied to the toxic relationship. You may find that you no longer tolerate certain behaviors or that you've become more attuned to red flags in new interactions. This growth is not just about healing the wounds of the past, it's about evolving into a stronger, more resilient version of yourself. You learn to protect your energy, honor your boundaries, and step into relationships with a clearer sense of what you deserve. Healing and growth post-cutoff are transformative processes. They are not about forgetting the past, but rather about using it as a foundation for a stronger future. The more you invest in your own healing, the more you realize your own strength, resilience, and capacity for love, starting with yourself.